When I was a kid, I would often go to my aunt and uncle's house over the summer for a visit. One of those weeks, I was sorting through their toys in the basement when I found a purple shadow creature with red eyes. I picked it up, turned to my cousin, and I asked him, "What is this?" Immediately, he looked at it and responded to me, "That is Gengar." And no, that might not be the exact way it happened, but in my little kid brain, that was my first experience with Pokemon. From that point on, I was obsessed with it. Every single week, I would rush to my cousin to hear about some weird new creature that I've never heard before in my life, and my obsession would only grow. When Christmas Day of that year, I would come down the stairs and open a present to see a copy of Pokemon Diamond on the DS. But I didn't know it was called Pokemon Diamond at the time because I couldn't read very well at that age. Nevertheless, I opened it up, inserted it into my DS, and sat down with my dad as my dad read to me, "Welcome to the world of Pokemon." Of course, my family couldn't always have the opportunity to read it to me, and as time went on, Pokemon Diamond was the game that helped teach me how to read. I would do every single thing these games had to offer. Fight in battles, do contests, I would participate in mystery gifts. Heck, they could do something as simple as make a new form for a Pokemon and resell the game and I would be over the moon. How would you look at that? All jokes aside, Platinum did actually add a whole lot more than just a form change for Giratina. And if you're to ask anyone, Platinum is the definitive way to play through Generation 4. And I think it's what left an impact on not just me, but a whole lot of people in my generation that played that game. Which is why, on January 26th, when they first revealed the remakes, there was so much concern about them. I mean, these games were basically an entire generation's red and blue, and this is how they wind up looking for the remakes? And how exactly faithful is a faithful remake anyways? With all the talk, I decided that it would probably be a good idea to replay Platinum that year. That way, by the time I actually bought BDSP, I'd have a better idea of which one was truly the better game. I was expecting Platinum to win in every single way, until they finally gave us some information that year on August 18th. Oh my goodness, it looks so much better! Pokemon follow you again?! Oh my goodness, they have character customization! You can just get a Manaphy egg from mystery gifts? Kids these days don't know the struggle. Can you polish the badges though? It was also around this time that a friend of mine came up to me and said, "Hey, you're replaying Platinum anyways. Why don't you make a critical video comparing the two?" And I said, "That sounds like a terrible idea." I never said I wouldn't do it. So, there you have it. In this video, I'm going to be comparing several aspects of the game for anyone who wants to know which is better. Although, I'm sure that most people who wanted BDSP have already bought it. So, in reality, this is just another pointless video of a man on the internet screaming into the void. Obviously, I'm not some type of professional critic. I'm just a guy who likes Pokemon. I also, unfortunately, don't have any Platinum footage, since by the time I decided to make this video, I had finished Platinum, and I don't have any way to record DS footage anyway. But, for those curious, this is the team I ran for my Platinum playthrough. Without further ado, let's get started! In terms of graphics, Platinum might not be the best looking sprite game, but I feel it has aged very well. Yet to mention that Generation 4 is the very first Pokemon game to experiment with 3D models, using them for buildings most often. They blend into the environment really nicely. I actually don't mind the style that BDSP chose to go with. I think it looks fine. The battles look really good, and I like the lively animations they have for trainers that challenge you. I also really like how Pokemon in the Pokedex are modeled after their original sprites, like the Barrel or Glalie. It's a really cool attention to detail. Yes, the characters may look like a bunch of squinkies, but that doesn't really bother me very much. Just don't stick up on a close-up for any of them too long. The characters will bobble back and forth like a bunch of bobbleheads. Oh, and whatever you do, don't give Cyrus a close-up. Or pay too much attention when you're using Rock Slide. Yeah, I'm just gonna give this point to Platinum. Now, the music in BDSP is handled beautifully. The amount of nostalgia I had listening to these remasters is incredible. Especially stuff like Route 209 or Route 216. It's definitely the definitive version to hear this music. That's not to say I don't have any criticisms whatsoever. I think they went way too easy on the bass. It's normally not that big a deal, but it's very noticeable for songs that rely on a good bass line. They're all lacking some type of punch that the originals have. Thankfully, if you're not a fan of the new soundtrack, you can get the DS sounds in the post-game, which will allow you to switch between the new soundtrack and the original soundtrack on the fly. However, there is one thing Platinum has in its soundtrack over BDSP. You see, in the original Diamond and Pearl, Palmer just reuses Cynthia's theme, and it's the same here too. However, in Platinum, he became a part of a 5-trainer group known as the Frontier Brains. Who are the Frontier Brains? Be patient, I'll get to them eventually. For now, all you need to know is that Palmer is one of them, and this is their theme. Putting my bias aside, though, BDSP has some truly beautiful remasters of the original. And, putting my bias back on the table, I can use the DS sounds whenever I want. It's sad to see the Frontier Brain theme be completely gone from the game, but it's not enough to keep me from giving a point to BDSP. Besides, I can't complain too much. Have you heard the Romanus Park song? Moving on to more quality of life things, let's start by talking about TMs and HMs. Now, in Platinum, TMs were a one and done thing. You use a single TM to teach a Pokemon a single move, and then it's tossed out and isn't able to be used again. HMs, on the other hand, were infinite use, but they're probably the most inconvenient thing in Platinum. A lot of HMs are needed to traverse the world, and they can't be forgotten by Pokemon that you teach it to. This in and of itself wouldn't be so bad if it weren't for the fact that almost all HMs are mediocre at best when it comes to being used as fighting moves. In BDSP, TMs are still a one and done thing, in spite of all the modernization that Pokemon has come to. This is inexcusable, especially when you compare it to Oras, which had infinite use TMs. However, I can't hold it against BDSP because Platinum also has one-use TMs, so it's not going to lose any points for it, in spite of how bad it is. HMs, on the other hand, work a little differently. You can now use a Poketch app to summon a wild Pokemon to use an HM for you whenever you need it, meaning that you don't have to waste your own party members' move slots in order to travel around the world. And while it might be frustrating to not have infinite use TMs, they do appear to at least be more plentiful, so I would probably give the point to BDSP for handling TMs and HMs better. One of the biggest criticisms with Gen 4 is just how slow it is. Platinum actually makes some slight changes to speed it up, at least according to Bulbapedia. It speeds up surfing in battles, and you can ride your bike in the gatehouses, which you apparently couldn't do in the original Diamond and Pearl. Overall, it's barely noticeable though. BDSP is definitely faster than the originals. You promise you won't kill me? I actually like the BDSP experience system more. Aw, come on! Alright, real quick for those who aren't in the know, let me explain how the experience system works. In Platinum, experience is divided evenly between all your Pokemon that participated in a fight. So if my Chimchar fights a Bidoof, he gets a Bidoof's worth of experience. If I start a fight with my Chimchar and end it with my Starly against a Bidoof, they each get half a Bidoof's worth of experience. You can also get an item in the game called the Experience Share, which can be held by one Pokemon. This divides experience between the Pokemon that participated and the Pokemon holding the Experience Share. You can get multiple of these, but most people are likely only going to get one in their entire playthrough. That's assuming you even go out of your way to talk to the person who gives it to you. BDSP handles experience the same way that Sword and Shield did. If you kill a Bidoof, your entire party gets a Bidoof's worth of experience points, and those who contributed to killing it get bonus experience on top of that. Obviously, this is an oversimplification of both experience systems as a whole, but this is the basic gist of it. I actually love it when other RPGs do this. I'm allowed to use whoever I want, whenever I want, without worrying about them being severely underleveled. In BDSP, I used more than 6 Pokemon and swapped them out on my team whenever I felt like it. So what's the problem? The problem is that the original games didn't have this new experience system in mind. meaning that Pokemon trainers that were equal in level to you in the original games are now absolute pushovers, and gym leaders that were outclassing you in the original games are now equal to you in level, if not underleveled compared to you. I haven't even taken into account the fact that Platinum has a higher level curve than the original Diamond and Pearl to make the game harder. BDSP is going off the original Diamond and Pearl's level curve. That's not to say the gyms in BDSP gave me no trouble whatsoever, but I was so over-leveled that more often than not, I'd wipe the floor with bosses before they could do anything to me. Not only that, but just like in Sword and Shield, there's no way to turn off the experience share, so you're likely going to be over-leveled the entire game. However, I would argue the lack of difficulty isn't necessarily a fault of the new experience system, as much as it is the lack of a hard mode, which Pokemon has yet to properly include into a single one of their games. And for that reason, I'm giving BDSP the point for experience. Allow me to explain some of the quality of life that Platinum added that wasn't in the original Diamond and Pearl. Platinum has a higher level curve for almost all of its gym leaders and bosses, giving the game an overall more challenging and more natural level curve than in the originals. Platinum also took evolutionary items for Gen 4's new evolutions of old Pokemon and made them much easier to access in general. For example, the Electrizer and Magmarizer in the original Diamond and Pearl could only be gotten by 50% drop from either Elekid or Magby respectively. Yet to mention, the Razor Fang and the Razor Claw couldn't be gotten until the post-game. In Platinum, you can find all 4 of these items hidden around random routes before you beat the game. Some Pokemon can be caught sooner than before, such as Gible, who can now be caught after the second gym since you no longer need strength to access it, which is good considering the level gap once you actually get the ability to use strength from the 6th gym. Rotom, which originally couldn't be encountered until you got the National Dex, can now be encountered whenever you like in Platinum, so long as you have cut to get in. Also something you can only do after the second gym. Because Togepi couldn't be caught until the post-game, Cynthia now gives you a Togepi egg once you complete the Eternity City's galactic building. Egg! Instead of Defog and Strength being given to you by random NPCs in the Safari and Lost Tower respectively, Barry now tells you Defog is hidden in Solaceon Ruins, encouraging you to look there, and Riley straight up gives you Strength after you help him at Iron Isle. There's a new detective NPC named Looker who's trying to arrest Team Galactic. On Mount Coronet, he gives you an item called the Black Flute, which reduces Pokemon encounters by 50% when used. Essentially, it's a weaker repel with infinite uses. The owner of the Fuego Ironworks will now exchange 4 shards of whatever color you want for 1 star piece. All of these additions are great, and make Platinum a better game overall. So why doesn't BDSP use any of them? I was planning on using a Rotom on my team, but I couldn't because I can't catch one until I beat the final boss, and even then you catch it at level 15! My team is around level 60, and this thing is level 15!
Oh, but it's supposed to be 1-to-1 meetings.
Then why did they change the experience share? Why did they change the underground, or contests, or anything? Why are they so dead set on adding literally anything except what was in Platinum? Oh, don't you worry, we'll get to that! This really shouldn't be a point for Platinum, but apparently they couldn't be bothered to add anything from Platinum. Alright, I suppose it's only fair we look at quality of life in BDSP that Platinum doesn't have. Pokemon has autosave now, and unlike the experience share, if you don't like it, you can turn it off in the options. Just like in Sword and Shield, you can access your PC from anywhere by pressing L on your party screen. You can teach a Pokemon a TM from their move screen in their summary now, as well as heal them from the party screen. There are now 4 registration slots for key items, so you can use the ones you access the most even easier. You can put Pokemon with ball capsules in your PC, so they don't always have to be in your party. I almost never touched these things in my Platinum run for that reason, but in BDSP, I had a lot of fun messing with them. You can even copy the balls of gym leaders you defeated and use them on your own Pokemon. Fairy type's in the game now, and you can gain experience points by catching Pokemon. Both things not added to the franchise until X and Y. So there you go, BDSP, you get an extra point too.
Wait till you see the. No, 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 no. Oh, he tried it. Oh.
Something I noticed when playing BDSP immediately after Platinum is that Platinum actually made several changes to the original story. For starters, Fantina, the Ghost-type gym leader in Hearthome City, is now the 3rd gym leader instead of the 5th, which makes the overall flow of the game a little bit smoother. Once you beat Crasher Wake in Platinum, a bomb goes off in the Safari Zone, giving you a reason to pursue after the Galactic Grunt to Lake Valor. After that you go to Celestic Town, and instead of just talking to Cyrus, you actually fight him, increasing the total amount of encounters with him to 3. Later on, when you storm the Galactic HQ, there's a scene where Cyrus is giving a speech to his men about building a utopia without pain or suffering. Then when you fight him at the end of the HQ, for what is the 2nd time in Platinum, he reveals that he was lying to them in order to get what he wants. When you confront Cyrus on Spear Pillar, Cynthia actually shows up to help you stop him. And naturally, since this is Platinum, Giratina also shows up to interfere with Cyrus's plans by dragging him into the Distortion World. From there, Cynthia and you both jump into the Distortion World in order to close the portal and stop Cyrus once and for all. Now I understand this isn't Platinum, so Giratina probably couldn't show up in the climax, but Cynthia showing up to help shows that she's actually doing her job as champion. And I would have appreciated some type of post-game mini-story involving Giratina in the Distortion World, like what they did with Rayquaza and Horace. Speaking of mini-stories, Platinum actually does have one in its post-game. You see, Platinum added a new character to Team Galactic named Charon. Some may recognize him from being referenced in the Team Galactic building at Eterna City, as he's the scientist who discovered Rotom. However, aside from that reference, he's completely absent from BDSP. He doesn't do much in the main story of Platinum aside from being the token evil scientist character, but in the post-game, Cyrus actually decides to stay in the Distortion World without telling anybody, meaning he's essentially gone missing. So Charon tries to take advantage of the situation and become the leader of Team Galactic in his place. When you enter Stark Mountain in Platinum, you're confronted by Commanders Jupiter and Mars, who both want to know where Cyrus is and what happened to him. Once you defeat them in a fight, they both decide to leave Team Galactic, saying it's not the same without Cyrus. Charon then reveals his plan to capture Heatran and hold the entire island for ransom by threatening volcanic eruptions. It's not long after that that you meet Buck and you team up with him in order to stop Charon's plan. What was originally a simple treasure hunt for you and Buck to go on for the Magma Stone has now become a race against Team Galactic in order to prevent their plans from coming true. Once you reach the end of Stark Mountain, Charon gets arrested by Looker, and that's the last that's seen of any Team Galactic members. From there, you can go back and catch Heatran yourself. I could probably make a whole separate video on why I think these changes are all improvements if I wanted to. But for now, all you need to know is that these changes were sorely missed in the remakes. I love my Battle Frontier. Remake time. I love my battle... Where's my Battle Frontier? Yes, just like in ORS, there's no battle frontier to be found. None, whatsoever. And for those who don't know what a battle frontier is, allow me to explain how Platinums worked. The battle frontier was a location that housed several different battle facilities, most of which taking on a 3-on-3 format, and each one being run by a different frontier brain, each having their own set of rules. The Battle Tower has no special rules. It's the most basic format of the frontiers, and if any rules change in any of the others, you can pretty much rely on all of these being the same. It appeared in BDSP, it appeared in the original Diamond and Pearl, it's here in Platinum as well. The Battle Factory doesn't have you pick your own Pokemon, but rather you rent 3 Pokemon to fight. Before you go up against your next opponent, you're given a hint about them, and then you decide if you want to swap any of your current team with any of the Pokemon that your last opponent used before facing your next one. The Battle Arcade has you spin a roulette wheel before you start each fight that could be beneficial or harmful to you. Your Pokemon are also not allowed to hold items unless said otherwise by the roulette wheel. The Battle Hall is the only battle facility to ignore the 3-on-3 rule. Instead, you and a single Pokemon participate in 1-on-1 fights and try to build a winning streak. You can choose what type you want your opponent's Pokemon to be beforehand, and the more you fight that one specific type, the harder fights with that type get, meaning you have to strategize if you want to get your Pokemon's weaknesses out of the way early, or save them later as easier fights. The Battle Castle is the only battle facility that doesn't automatically heal your team in between fights. Instead, you earn CP or Crown Points, which can be used to heal your Pokemon's HP and move points, purchase items for them to use in the next fight, see your next opponent's team before fighting them, and even raise or lower the levels of your opponent's team before you fight them. None of these battle facilities are easy either. I never reached a single Frontier Brain as a kid, and the closest I got in my most recent Platinum playthrough was a fight with Palmer in the Battle Tower, in which I lost. Unfortunately, I can't say I'm surprised that it didn't return in BDSP. In fact, I was so sure it wasn't going to return. It's the whole reason I wanted to replay Platinum to begin with. Even though my experience as a kid was just being beaten to the ground and told to try again over and over, the Battle Frontier is what kept me coming back the most, just hoping that one day I might be good enough to confront even one of these titans. BDSP flushes all that down the toilet and leaves you with a fifth of what Platinum gave you. Come to think of it, in Platinum, Cynthia gives you a vacation villa at the resort area. I'm like 10 years old, but I'm sure I could afford to decorate a vacation home. Who needs anything more than a table anyways, right? Okay, yeah, it's expensive, but it's a fun thing to put your money into and watch grow. And as it continues to grow, people will visit your home more often. From rivals, gym leaders, Elite Four, Cynthia, heck, even your mom. Where's it in BDSP? Oh. Well, what about the survival area then? You see, in Platinum, once you help Buck stop Charn, instead of going back to his house, you go back to a cafe run by him and his grandfather. This cafe is known as the Battleground, and it's a place that gym leaders gather along with those who have been given membership by them. And since you're not only the champion at this point, but literally just helped the owner, guess who got a membership? Here you can face 4 different trainers daily. 3 of them are a random assortment of the 8 gym leaders, which you can all rematch stronger than before. The 4th trainer that appears each day is one of the 5 partners that you traveled with throughout your journey. I really like that you can face them here. Unlike the gym leaders who were just holding back, it really feels like the people you traveled with have had their own journeys and gotten stronger since the last time you've seen them. It makes the world feel a little bit more real and alive. Wait, did anyone else hear something? I already know what you're gonna do. Just get out of my face and do it. Okay, there is actually more to be said on this topic than just a lack of a battleground altogether. First off, you can still rematch the gym leaders in BDSP. Not only that, but they're more difficult than ever before, and you can rematch all 8 of them once a day. I just wish you didn't have to redo the entire gym puzzle in order to reach them, Candace! What you can no longer do is face off against the partners you've traveled with along your journey. Okay, well that's not entirely true. You can face them in the battle tower via doubles master rank. But you can face the gym leaders here too, and you can face their full team outside of the battle tower, so what gives? I mean, I'm glad partners weren't completely thrown out the window, but fighting 2 of their Pokemon while having them capped at level 50 doesn't have the same feeling to me as being able to fight their full team at full strength. Some may argue that BDSP does it better because you can rematch whatever gym leader you want in a harder fight than in Platinum. But personally, I appreciate the expansion of the world much more than I do a difficult challenge. Not to mention that some are just too inconvenient to reach to be fought every day. There was one secret in Platinum that I always thought was cool. You see, if you went back to Mount Coronet with Waterfall, there was a secret room where you could get the Adamant and the Lustrous Sword. Then, if you went back to the top of Spear Pillar, you could catch both Dialga and Palkia. Having all the box legendaries be catchable in one game was so amazing to me as a kid. I don't expect BDSP to do this, but who knows? Heart Gold Soul Silver lets you catch Ho-Oh and Lugia, so maybe BDSP will keep it in. Yeah, this is the closest the game gets to letting you do that. And there's a reason I shouldn't get my hopes up. Okay, so there's no Battle Frontier, and the main game is a pushover. What does BDSP have in terms of challenge? Oh, trust me, there's still plenty left to talk about. First things first, the AI is much smarter. And on the off chance that I'm not super overleveled and can't wipe the floor with them, they end up being a pretty tough challenge. Yet to mention, the rematches with the gym leaders were really tough in and of themselves. By the time I fought them, I thought I would be overleveled, but I severely underestimated them. And remember when I said that the game followed the original Diamond and Pearl's level curve and not Platinum's? Well, the only part of the level curve that Platinum lowered was the Elite Four and the Champion. This is because there's a significant level gap between Volkner and the Elite Four in the original game. However, since BDSP follows the original's level curve, they're actually higher level here than in Platinum, which means that by the time I got to fight them, I was equal in level to them, if not under-leveled, making it a really good challenge. Oh, and I can't forget, when you first fight the Elite Four, every single one of them has a competitively made team. The same could be said for the gym leader rematches. Each one of them is built with competitive Pokemon in mind. And of course, the most notable challenge is from none other than Miss Champion herself. Yeah, that's right. As if she wasn't hard enough, Cynthia's rocking a competitively built team with Eevees, Ivies, and any other forms of Vs made for kicking your ass! This fight had me using more brain power than any other fight in the main game. And then of course there's the rematch. As you can see, her entire team's levels increased by 10, and she swapped her Gastrodon for the Togekiss she uses on her Platinum team. The same could be said for a lot of rematches actually. They're all made to better reflect their teams in Platinum. It's a really nice touch. Overall though, there's not too much noteworthy about the rematch with Cynthia. It's a pretty standard champion rematch. But that's nothing compared to the second rematch. Yes, for the first time in a Pokemon game, the champion will get even stronger on your third fight. This can only be accessed if you've already beaten her in a rematch and explored Stark Mountain with Buck. But once you do, the entire Elite Four and the champion will get even stronger. Overall though, not much changes honestly. A few different movesets, she swaps out her Roserade for a Porygon Z. Oh yeah, and how could I forget the minor change of her whole team's level increasing by 10? This puts Cynthia in a tie with Red from Heart Gold Soul Silver for having the highest level Pokemon in any mainline game. And I think it's safe to say that a Garchomp is beating a Pikachu in a tie any day. Overall though, I'm glad to hear that Cynthia will be a champion that crushes children's dreams for years to come. Finally, after all these years, we have another mainline game where Pokemon follow you again. No, I said mainline. I don't count that one. I would have loved to see a proper return of this in any Pokemon game, but seeing the mechanic that started in Gen 4's remakes come back in a remake of Gen 4 is really neat. You can't walk with Pokemon until you visit Amity Square, but from then on, you can walk with whoever you want, even if they're not at the front of your party. Speaking of Amity Square, since its purpose of walking with Pokemon can now be done anywhere, it instead lets you walk with up to 6 eligible Pokemon, and you can even make Poffins with them. I'm just glad to see this mechanic return in a mainline game with no flaws whatsoever. Hold on a second, let me check something. What? Why is he...
Why is he baby?
In Heart Gold Soul Silver, if a Pokemon was too big to fit in a building or a small space, it would go back in its ball for a split second. It's disorienting to see literally every Pokemon be the exact same size, especially when you're flying on a Staraptor, only to see a miniature Staraptor pop out and follow you. It seems that just like in Sword and Shield's DLC, slower Pokemon lag painfully behind you as well. Clearly they don't care about size accuracy, so I don't get why they need to make speed completely accurate. You also can't walk with your Pokemon indoors, in caves, or in the snow for some reason. Probably because they do something like this. But you know what? It's fine. It's whatever. I'm just thankful that it's here, and I would rather have it be here than not. So I will give this point to BDSP. Another neat thing to see return is character customization. Okay, well, it's not full customization. There's several different pre-made outfits for you to choose from. Although, they do change the bag icon depending on your style, which is a really neat attention to detail they didn't have to add. It's made to replace the game corner in Veilstone City, since E-rated games are no longer allowed to have gambling in them. And although I miss the game corner, I do greatly appreciate this over it. And for that, I'm gonna give another point to BDSP. Since we're already on the topic of comparing changes to locations with Veilstone's Game Corner and Fashion Store, Pal Park was an area in the post-game where you could insert any GBA Pokemon game into the bottom of your DS, and then you could pick up to 6 Pokemon to be transferred from Gen 3 to Gen 4. They were all a guaranteed catch, but you had to run around and find them yourself. You practically needed to do this if you wanted Regigigas, because the Regitrio couldn't be caught normally in Gen 4. Nowadays, if you want to transfer your Pokemon between generations, you gotta cough up money to do so, meaning that there's no reason to have Pal Park. So, in light of this new stingy business practice, what do they have to replace Pal Park? Enter Romanus Park, a place where you can catch literally any legendary in the history of Pokemon that isn't already tied to the main story of BDSP. Which, you know, is pretty cool. If you've never played these, I mean, it was really cool to me the first time they did it in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, but this is the 4th time that they're doing something like this. I personally prefer when a legendary is relevant to the plot, or tied to the region somehow, or has its own little mini-story or side quest. This is just starting to feel like a lazy way to shoehorn in more content. Oh wait, my bad. Did I say all the legendaries earlier? Because I didn't mean all the legendaries. Because BDSP doesn't let you use any Pokemon past Generation 4 in the game. Yes, just like Sword and Shield, there is no national dex in BDSP, meaning that any Pokemon introduced in Black and White onwards cannot be transferred into the game or used at all. This is a shame to me, honestly, because I would have loved to see old characters use brand new Pokemon that weren't in the original Diamond and Pearl, like Wally using a Gallade in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. Like, imagine if in the final rematch against Cynthia, instead of some random Porygon Z, she used her Electros from her fight in Black and White. That'd be so cool! However, in spite of it being a major criticism against BDSP as a remake, I'm not gonna count it as a point against BDSP when comparing it directly to Platinum, because it's the exact same dex that Platinum had. Wait a minute, what was I talking about again? I can't help but feel like I've gotten off track. Oh right, Romanus Park! One thing I do like about Romanus Park is that the tablets used to summon the legendaries are modeled after the cartridge of the game they debuted on, be it a Game Boy game, a GBA game, or even a DS game. I also like that each of the legendaries has their own chamber that not only reflects their personality, but their origins as well. Mewtwo has this modern science lab, while Rayquaza has this super ancient and decrepit shrine. Legendaries caught in Romanus Park will have their hidden abilities by default, which is awesome considering how rare a hidden ability can be, especially on legendaries. Even though this is the 4th time they're doing something like this, it might just be the best execution of the idea so far. And, while you can't explore the Distortion World to the same extent as in Platinum, Romanus Park does transport you there in order to capture some legendaries. It even takes you there to fight a level 100 super boss known as Shadow Giratina. It would have been cool to explore the Distortion World from Turnback Cave, which is where you can access it in Platinum's post-game, and catch Giratina in BDSP's post-game, but whatever, at least it's in the game. The fight with Shadow Giratina itself is neat, but it wasn't very hard to me. I think it could have benefited from a stat boost like Ultra Necrozma had when you fight him. Honestly, I think the only thing that Romanus Park is really missing is an explanation as to why it even exists in the first place. Pal Park didn't need an explanation because the explanation is that you, the person playing the game, was the one putting everything into Pal Park in order to be caught. But in Romanus Park? What are Romanus roses? Why do they attract strong people? Who made Romanus Park, and why? Why doesn't Giratina change into his origin form when he's in the Distortion World? Okay, that last one's probably just a developer oversight, but still! That aside, I do think Romanus Park is executed very well. Then again, it's also the 4th time that they've done it. In my opinion, Romanus Park is a solid replacement, but nothing can truly replace that feeling for me of reclaiming Pokemon that you might already have an attachment to from another game entirely. Some might argue that Pal Park is outdated nowadays, especially if you're playing Platinum on an emulator. But guess what? That argument doesn't matter, because it's my video and I get to distribute the points. And this one's going to Platinum. So I'm sure by now you're asking me, just where do you get all these tablets to summon these legendaries in Romanus Park? Well, I'm glad you asked. My friend, welcome to the Grand Underground! I'm not sure what makes it so grand compared to the original, but it's grand. Down here, you can participate in a digging minigame, just like in the originals, except this time you can get an item called Mysterious Shards, which can be spent in order to get more tablets. I don't have any footage of me digging one up, but just take my word for it, they're down there somewhere. You can also use a digging drill to put a secret base anywhere of your choosing. Unfortunately, a feature that was removed, that was in both the originals and in Platinum, is being able to make your base actually look nice with furniture. In BDSP, you can only decorate your base with the equivalent of Pokemon Funko Pops. Thankfully, unlike Funko Pops, these statues actually serve somewhat of a purpose. Depending on the type of statue you place down, it will affect the spawn rates of different types of Pokemon in the underground for you to catch. And, don't quote me on this, I'm pretty sure that by the time you reach the post-game, it's actually possible for every Pokemon to spawn down here from generations 1 to 4, which, when combined with Romanus Park, would actually make it possible to complete half of the national decks just by having these games alone. That's absolutely crazy! And while we're on the topic of side modes, we may as well talk about contests. Overall, they're mostly the same. There's a presentation phase, a rhythm phase, and then a move evaluation phase. However, in this version, they're all working together to make the contest a success, and the one who contributes the most is declared the winner. The presentation phase changed a lot. Instead of having a time limit to dress up a Pokemon in a costume, and having your presentation be based on that, presentation is now based on ball capsules that you have your Pokemon sealed in. I do think this is a nice way to use the ball capsules, but I kind of prefer making stupid costumes for Pokemon. The rhythm game has hardly changed, although no one is tasked with setting the pace for the rhythm now, but that's not really a big deal to me. Move evaluation has been severely downgraded. Just like in the originals, each move has a different effect. However, unlike the originals, you only get to pick one of them before you go into a contest, and it's used as a one-use move during the rhythm minigame in order to get more appeal. Overall, I like just how many Pokemon there are to catch in the underground and all the new options it brings for team building. However, I do really miss being able to customize your base with furniture. Bases in BDSP just feel barren. And while I do prefer how the old contests worked, nothing was really sacrificed here that I care about that much, and it's not gonna keep me from giving the point of both these side modes to BDSP. That final tally is a little disappointing. Would you believe me if I said this wasn't planned? I mean, I guess it makes sense, given how I feel about the game. I liked BDSP a lot, and I think it's a great Diamond and Pearl remake. However, I don't think it's a good Gen 4 remake. I feel like there's just too much missing overall for it to encapsulate the entire generation. Honestly, if you've never played Platinum before, BDSP is a fine way to experience Generation 4. Of course, that leaves the question, what if you're someone who already has Platinum, is planning on buying Platinum, or would rather sail the 7 seas for Platinum? I'm not gonna act like BDSP has absolutely nothing to offer, I just made an entire video stating otherwise. But if you're like me and you can live without the quality of life in BDSP, then ultimately it comes down to content. And I would argue that Platinum has way more content and more interesting content than BDSP overall. Not only that, but I would argue that Platinum's better designed in maps, more interesting set pieces, and story changes as a whole are what helped give Generation 4 the identity it has today, all of which are lacking in these remakes. BDSP isn't bad, but it's definitely disappointing. And I would say that if you have any type of access to a copy of Pokemon Platinum, you're better off playing that instead. Well, there you go. If for some reason you haven't figured out if you want the Gen 4 remakes this long after they've released, that's my recommendation. Thankfully, Gen 4's time in the spotlight isn't over quite yet. Because Game Freak gave the remake project to Ilka, they've had plenty of time to focus on their own brand new project, Pokemon Legends Arceus. And if the trailers are anything to go by, this game looks like it's gonna be a really good spin on Pokemon. And I hope that Legends Arceus does end up being that new Pokemon game that gives a breath of fresh air not only to the fans, but to Game Freak and the franchise as a whole. Because let's be honest with ourselves, looking at the last couple Pokemon games to have been released, Arceus knows that a breath of fresh air is what the franchise needs. Thank you so much for watching. Even just taking time to watch a couple seconds of this really means a lot to me. I had no clue what I was doing when I first wanted to start making this, and the only reason it even got made is with the help of friends who actually know what they're doing. So I'll be linking a few of their channels, and maybe a couple videos if they have any they'd like to present. But that's gonna be it from me for now. So with that in mind, I hope you just have a wonderful rest of your day.